Hi there everyone and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Should You Pull video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Now this time around I actually kind of considered the fact that making this video is almost relatively pointless, purely because I think that people are going to be pulling this for this character regardless of whether I think that he's good or bad. Luckily, he isn't, for he is particularly good, and it's going to be Sephiroth this time around, along with his banner mates in Vincent and Eiko. Now this banner is yet another hype banner off the rails of Kuja, Quistis, Lena, Renoa, Golbet. There's a lot of really strong banners that have been going about recently. So with Sephiroth kind of leading the tail end of that kind of, big bulk of must-pull banners, how must-pull is Sephiroth and how necessary is he going forward into the Cosmos era and the EX Plus era in terms of difficulty? If you want to find out more about him, then stay tuned and keep on watching. As always, don't forget to check out all the social links in the description box below, including my Patreon, my Discord channel, and my Twitch channel, which is fast approaching 1,000 followers. So if you could take the time to have a little look on my Twitch channel, give a follow, come and check me out while I'm streaming Opera Omnia and various other things, then I would love you very much for it. But let's get on with talking about Sephiroth and his banner mate, shall we? Now, one of the nice things about this banner is that the two characters that aren't the main featured character are at least relatively useful, even though neither of them have an EX yet. So if you haven't already picked up Vincent and Eiko, they're actually not terrible characters just to have in your roster anyway. But we'll start by looking at Vincent, and as always, don't forget to check out DissidiaDB.com for all the information you need when it comes to anything relating to Opera Omnia. But what Vincent is designed to do is lower resistances for various elements and lower basically their attacking stats. The main one you want to be looking at is live wire shot and the 35 CP weapon that's available to it. I mean, we're looking at I was looking at the Japanese one, so he does get an EX eventually, but right now he doesn't have one. But Dark Shout will increase the potency of the attack down that you have from live wire shot to about 60%, so it can actually be really quite powerful while you've got that active, and it will help with surviving quite a lot of different things. And then when it comes to his sort of level 55 and 60 passives, he doesn't get a huge amount from them. Like, he gets a little bit of a higher turn rate from everything. He gets HP attacks, like he does group bravery attacks, single target HP attacks, but the main thing you get out of his Crystal Awakening is that all of the debuffs that you get from his abilities become AoE abilities, and that's actually kind of nice to have. Are there EX characters out there that kind of render him a little redundant? Yeah, of course there is. Like, if you happen to have Kefka and all of his gear, then you're more than likely going to be using Kefka way more than you're going to use Vincent. And the same goes for a character like even Ramza. And those are two characters that I will touch on later with regards to Sephiroth. But there are going to be characters that do a better job of debuffing than Vincent. But Vincent does bring some nice sort of unique things to the table, such as the fire resist and the thunder resist down, that are kind of fun to use even if you do have certain EXs that you wouldn't normally use. Now, Eiko is like the little darling of Opera Omnia. She's done so well in keeping up with sort of the way the game has gone for a very long time. Ever since she was first released, Eiko was a really strong character. And Eiko has some really nice abilities even now. Like, I would still use her amongst various different characters, like Paladin Cecil and Kuja are characters that I touched on using her in a team with because she has holy attacks, and that she's also a support character that can bring a lot to the table. Like, her HP regen can actually be really useful, particularly if you have all of her gear to do it. Like, her HP regen with her 15 CP passive is 12 turns long. It adds a max brave up to all characters and attack up. It's a nice buff all around. And then you get a large amount of regenerative bravery from her. She also does an HP attack after she's done it, so she's slightly offensive. She heals from her HP attack plus. She gets an HP attack plus and a brave attack plus, so her longevity is really long. Smite is just a useful attack. It was like the first example of an offensive brave battery attack where you do the damage and then everyone gets bravery equal to the amount of damage you dealt. Although now it's a brave HP attack that does nice things, and then after using it, her brave attack becomes a brave attack plus, which batteries everybody at the same time as her. She's just a really nice character to have. Again, the same thing applies as with Vincent. There are characters now, like Lena, who overshadow her a little bit, but that's because they have access to an EX weapon. And I talk about some of these characters because not everyone has access to things like Lena EX, Kefka EX, Ramza EX, all sorts of things like that. So having characters like Eiko and Vincent are nice characters to have. If you don't have anything on this banner, then picking these two up is not a bad thing in any way, shape or form. So going on to the main attraction, we're going to be looking at Sephiroth now. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, honestly, I don't believe that anything I say here is going to sway people who wanted to pull for Sephiroth at all, because he's such a popular character that if you want him, you're going to be pulling for him regardless of what I say here. But luckily, he is actually a very strong character anyway, and he's one of the premier physical damage dealers that are in the game, certainly at the time of his release. And then something I will touch on a bit later is how much he comes back in full swing this time next year. But basically, what Sephiroth does is a lot of damage. And, you know, much like Renoa and Golbez before him, that's his primary function, is that he deals an absolute butt ton of damage. So Fervent Blow is a 10-hit bravery attack that after you get his level 55 passive, which this is the main thing that he's going to be getting from his Lost chapter, is going to be his level 60 Awakening and then his EX. So we'll look at the 60 Awakening first, and the Fervent Blow extent basically turns his 10-hit Brave attack into two 5-hit Brave and HP attacks that are quite quick and do a lot of damage. And then his Genova passive, which is something that's really nice anyway, because it increases his speed for every stack of it you have, as well as lowering your opponent's speed by 50% just by having it active. And because the buff is on him and is like an invisible debuff to his opponent, it doesn't take up any debuff slots. So he's actually really solid in terms of buff debuff management, because he doesn't actually take up that many for himself. So as I say, Fervent Blow will give him more stacks of Genova if he already has them, but it won't actually give them to him in the first place. In order to get that, you need to be using Octaslash, which Octaslash is a 7-hit Brave HP attack which grants Genova in the first place. But if you have its Crystal Awakening, it can have its Brave stolen up to, or Bravery increase, and it has an overflow of up to 150% of his max Bravery, which is really strong. And then he gets a Brave Attack Plus, which is nice, but it's not a Brave HP attack, and he doesn't get an HP attack plus, which is quite detrimental to his kit because it affects his longevity quite badly. So having Brave batteries alongside Sephiroth is always going to be very important. But when you're using Fervent Blow, that doesn't have any overflow. It instead splits its Brave HP damage across 2 attacks. So you need to be careful when you use each of his attacks. Like if he's been batteried, Octaslash is going to be more useful to you, and if he hasn't, then Fervent Blow is going to be more useful to you. So basically just timing the abilities and when you want to use them is going to be really, really useful. And then his gear outside of his EX weapon, basically, I mean, I've had his gear since, it was one of the nicest banners to me in the 35 CP era, so I'm hoping that he's nice to me again this time around. It basically just makes all of his stuff more powerful. It means that he gets max bravery and attack as well as his speed based on the number of Genova stacks he has, and this is very important to his kit. So making sure you get his 35 CP weapon is going to be really important. And then it also increases the maximum stacks of Genova he can have up to 5, because it's normally 4. And then because your Fervent Blow can now grant Genova stacks, he's going to get to that 5 way, way quicker, and it doesn't rely on him just using Octaslash to get to them. So he's going to hit his max stacks much faster than he did before, and he's going to be dealing the maximum potential of damage in no time at all. Now the main thing that we're all going to be wanting from this banner is going to be Sephiroth's Mako Katana, which is his EX weapon, which gives him the Black Materia ability. So what Black Materia does is it sets all of your opponent's bravery to 0 if they have bravery. It doesn't work on broken enemies. Then it increases his bravery. Then it triggers an HP attack, and then which is 100% all across the board. It doesn't matter, like it will deal the even amount of damage, the full amount of damage to every enemy. And then it grants a stack of a buff called Reunion, which increases his max bravery and regenerates his own bravery, depending on the number of stacks. Now, normally you'd only get 1, but as you limit break it, you'll get more. And one of the biggest things, and this is one of the best things you can see on anybody's EX weapon, is the ability to not consume an ability use during your next turn. This increases the longevity of any character so much that it's unreal. just being able, it's a slightly slow recast rate, so if you full max limit break it, then it's going to come up a little bit faster, and that's always going to be really useful to everybody, because it means that the more uses you get out of Black Materia, the more uses you're getting out of his other skills. So his EX is pretty mandatory to his kit unless you want him to have to burn through all of his abilities really quickly, and nobody wants that, certainly not with Cosmos difficulty coming around very soon. I believe it should turn up at the end of this month with the story chapter, so you kind of want to make sure you have his EX weapon in order to keep his longevity going, because Sephiroth does monstrous amounts of damage to a single target, which means that he isn't the best at sort of wave clearing in order to get to the boss fight. Unless, like, he can be quite slot inefficient unless you have his EX weapon, because you want to get the maximum stacks out of his Genova ability, you want to get to Reunion as soon as possible, and you just want to make sure he's doing the most damage that he can. He has an AoE HP attack in his EX kit, but it's the only AoE attack he has, so you're not going to be using him for sort of multiple bosses at once. And, you know, in my team building video I posted fairly recently, I talk about selfish damage characters. Sephiroth is a relatively selfish damage dealer, because the only thing that he brings to the team that doesn't support solely himself is just the minus 50% speed that comes off of his Genova stacks. Now that is really useful in conjunction with certain other characters, but you want to be able to build around that, because he does a lot of damage, but he only does a lot of damage. So whether that influences your pulls for Sephiroth or not is entirely up to you. Something I do want to start looking at, and something to look into for the far future, is what a character's EX Plus version of their weapon will bring to the table. If you want to learn a bit more about EX Pluses, then let me know in the comments below, and then I will try and explain them up fairly soon, because we've got a little while to wait for them, but I thought I'd touch on them now in terms of realising a character's longevity, just how long they're going to last for in terms of power creep. Sephiroth's EX Plus is extraordinarily strong and adds some really crazy stuff to his kit just by having it. He gets Brave Overflow on Black Materia, which is a great thing to have anyway, but the most important thing is that he gets exactly what he needs from having an HP attack turn into an HP attack plus, which means that he doesn't have to be using his skills every turn in order to really benefit from everything he has. And then not only that, but once that's happened, and bear in mind that we're not going to be getting EX Plus for a good, you know, Sephiroth's at the very least we're not going to be getting for at least 9 to 10 months before we get this, but I wanted to touch on it anyway. He gets to start the fights with Genova stacks and more max brave and attack based on his Genova stacks and Reunion at the start of the quest, so he's not sitting there waiting to have to use all of his skills to get to his EX, so that it ends up just starting the fight at almost full power, which is really powerful. And then he gets to raise the overflow limit for all of his attacks just by having his EX Plus. So while we've not got this for a very long while to come, pulling for Sephiroth now means not having to pull for him later. So lastly, before I give a verdict or a couple of teammate suggestions for Sephiroth, I want to quickly look at where we might see him return. Now, when I did my Future Pulls video, I did touch on this banner here, which featured Sephiroth and Cloud. However, this banner in particular was featured to celebrate kind of a trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So whether we actually get this banner or not is completely up for debate and may well be quite unlikely. So I wouldn't focus too heavily on this particular banner if you're hoping to get him in the future. However, in quite a long way down, you'll get another rerun of his banner, but it will also come with Eiko's EX weapon. Where can I find those? There we go. Eiko's weapon is actually very strong as well, but we've got a long time to wait before this comes back around again. But Sephiroth is going to be really powerful now, and he will be for the entirety of July, though we have a lot of characters that are coming out around July that aren't really all that great, and we've just had a buttload of characters that are all really powerful. But come August, we're going to be seeing the advent of characters like Zack and Vayne. Now, Vayne is extremely powerful, so I really would consider looking into Vayne's kit if you're not sure whether you want to wait maybe a month and save for him. Depends entirely on your resources. if you've got loads of resources, then Sephiroth is in no way going to disappoint you if you do happen to get his full kit. But he is very, very strong. But there is going to be a character that arguably eclipses him in a month's time in Vayne, because Vayne does an absolute butt ton of damage and has capabilities of benefiting the party as well. So maybe take into consideration characters that are coming out in the future before you go all in on Sephiroth. Before ending the video, I do once again want to turn attention to Inkwelder and the Tombury Troupe for their wonderful infographics on various characters that come out, and Sephiroth is no different. So if you want to learn more information or just a nice little kind of concise version of everything that I've said in this video, then do be sure to check out this particular image. Pause the video if you need to, just to see the basic rundown of everything that Sephiroth does, as long as he has all of his gear, what artifacts you're looking for him, his pros and cons to having him in terms of what you want out of a character, and consideration for other characters that might come back from him and potential future banners like the ones I've discussed today. So do I think that Sephiroth's banner is worth pulling on? In a word, yes, I do. I think Sephiroth is extremely strong. I think Vincent and Eiko, if you don't already have their stuff, are quite nice to have. I already have everything on this banner from Sephiroth's first banner, so if I'm pulling on this banner, then I'm only pulling for Sephiroth's EX weapon, which is going to be a bit of a rough going. But so I'm personally probably going to spend whatever tickets I have and hope for the best. I had to go in pretty deep for Rinoa and Lena. So, and I did say in my future pulls video that I would pull on Sephiroth based on how nice those two were to me, but basically, you're not going to go wrong with Sephiroth. He's got extremely high damage potential, and he pairs up very nicely with two of my favourite characters to use in the game at the moment, which are Kefka and Ramza, because Sephiroth's Genova debuff isn't really a debuff, it just debuffs speed without actually affecting them. So if you stack up Ramza's framed debuff from his EX, Kefka's framed debuff from his EX, and Kefka's regular speed debuff, your opponent is just not going to move, and it's hilarious to watch. And you're sitting there, and you've got Ramza that's buffering Sephiroth, and then their defenses are lowered, so Sephiroth's dealing even more damage. It's going to be a really fun party to use. And personally, I want Sephiroth because, as I said in my previous video, I want to make Team Hairography a thing, and that's just personal preference. And Sephiroth is a very, very loved character, so pulling for Sephiroth is not going to do you wrong. However, as I said earlier, there are characters coming out in the early Cosmos era, like Vayne and later Noel, who will kind of, and a lot of the sort of later reworks will nudge Sephiroth to the side, so that's something worth bearing in mind. But in a word, yes, I do think that this banner is worth pulling on, certainly if you have the resources to spend, because there's not going to be a huge amount for the rest of this month unless we get some shock. We had Van Kane EX released again with just Kane getting a rework, and honestly, that's nothing that special. So Sephiroth is a much better use of your resources than, say, that banner is, and we've got lots of banners coming up that aren't all that special, so if you're really hankering for a physical damage dealer, then Sephiroth is a really good pick for you. But, like I said, thinking about the future and stuff like that is something to bear in mind before going all in. Anyways, before I keep going backwards and forwards in circles and saying whether I think that Sephiroth is worth pulling for or not, I want to leave the video there and say thank you ever so much for watching. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Let me know in the comments below how your pulls for Sephiroth go if you do decide to pull on him, and I wish you all the best of luck if you do. So don't forget to check out DissidiaDB.com for all of your best resources when it comes to Dissidia Opera Omnia. Don't forget to check out all of the other content creators for Opera Omnia, because there's so many of us out here, and I would love to encourage you to support everybody and not just my videos. And then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell for notifications so you'll know when a video of mine comes up next. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye now.